Good evening, class. So for today's class, instead of doing a live section, I'm preparing this video and I need each of you to watch it to the end. But then again, some of you will not watch it. So if you don't watch it, it's no problem. If you want to watch it, no problem. For all I know, my class is going on. And so let me announce that I said the other day that your papers are at the department. You should go and pick them up so that you can be able to know how you stand in terms of your midterms and stuff like that. Now, the next set of topics has to do with employee relations and labor law. Employee relations and labor law. We touched on it very briefly at the beginning of the semester. And so this time around, we want to have a little more in-depth understanding of what they are all about. According to the notes, we have employee relations as a subtopic, and under the employee relations, there are two subtopics. You have one, maintaining a positive work environment, and two, you have conflict resolution strategies. Conflict resolution strategies. That falls under employee relations. Then the second part has to do with labor laws and regulations. Labor laws and regulations. Under that, you have three subtopics. One is employment contracts. The other one is anti-discrimination laws. And the third one is what they call Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSHA. If you check the notes, you'll see them all there. But let's start from the beginning. Okay. When it comes to employee relations, the first one that has to do with maintaining a positive work environment. A positive work environment is an environment where when you go to work, you feel excited about working, you feel good about working because why? The entire atmosphere there is very conducive. Now, what about that? There are several key concepts that has to do with a positive work environment or maintaining a positive work environment. The first one is there must be clear communication. As an HR manager or as a manager, you want to have your work environment to be positive. You must always communicate clearly with your employees. You can't tell the person, let's finish the work before the end of the week so we can start the other one by weekend. That communication is not clear. If you say, let's finish the work by Thursday and we start the other one on Friday, that's clear communication. Just say, bring few chairs from the office, or let's carry about few dozens of typewriters in a lab. What a few dozens of typewriters? That communication is obscure, it's not clear. So if you want a positive work environment, you want for your employees to understand what you're saying, you must always be clear, you must be precise, you must be accurate. If you want 4 typewriters to be taken into the lab, say 4, don't say few dozens. If you tell me few dozens, I will care 10 dozens, that's few. So the first concept there is there must be clear communication. The second concept is there must be mutual respect. What is mutual respect? You respect me, and I respect you. As a manager, there are a lot of managers, including some of you who on this platform, you may not be manager, but you have the belief and mindset that as long as you are a senior person and a junior person, you can respect them. They are the ones that are supposed to respect you. Well, it's true that junior person should give respect to senior person, but they say respect is also earned. It is earned. If you do not earn the respect, you will not get the respect you want. So you respect your employee. There are some employees that are wise, that have good ideas. You take down how you talk to them. You don't shout at the employees, demeaning way and funny way before other employees. You make them shame. What make a man shame? Liberian way, they say what? It makes him mad. So that's the second concept. The third concept on maintaining a positive work environment is that you must have employee engagement. What is employee engagement? Now when men engage, who want to marry or no, there must be continuous interaction with employee. What are you doing? How is the work going? Is there any problem? How can we solve it? How can we work together to come up with a way forward? Okay, what are your plans? Employee engagement. You must always be in touch with your employees. Get to know your employees by name. You'll be surprised to know that there are some HR managers and some managers who do not know all of their employees, despite the fact that they have been around for a long time with the same employees that they've been managing over and over. I'm not talking about, very big company or so, but maybe a small environment, you have 30 employees. What does it take for a manager to know all 30 of the employees? It doesn't take any. I can memorize the name of 50 or 60 students in my face-to-face class before midterm time. All right. So knowing your employees and engaging them is a very key concept when it comes to maintaining a positive work environment, because every employee will know that the boss man know him or her. If he or she is absent from work, the boss man will know. And then the fourth one is what they call the recognition and the reward system. That is the fourth concept on maintaining a positive work environment. There must be recognition and there must be what? Reward systems applied. What is recognition? You got people working from Monday to Saturday, from 1 week to the 4th week. Month in, month out, exceedingly hard. Everything that the employee is doing is benefiting the company. But one day you can say, thank you, what you guys have done is very good. Or John was able to produce more than everybody this week. We're very happy about that. Let's get him employee all the month. Some companies do that. Recognition and reward. So it's encouraging when you recognize employees for their hard work and don't downplay them and don't turn your back and say, hey, what's so much you got to offer? After all, you're getting paid to do what you're doing. Definitely. Many managers will say they are getting paid to do what they're doing. That's true. But at the same time, you get a positive work environment out of them if you motivate them, if you reward them and recognize them. So those are the four concepts under maintaining a positive work environment. One is having a clear communication. Two is there must be mutual respect. Three, there must be employee engagement. And fourthly, you must recognize and reward employees. Now, what are the strategies I can use to carry all these different things we talk about? Strategies mean what kind of action, what technique you can use to carry on these kinds of things. Firstly, when you look at clear communication, there must be transparent communication channels. How do you communicate with people? When you say transparent communication channel, there are several ways it can happen. One, you could have what they call a survey system. A survey system is where you could develop a questionnaire. Every 2 weeks or every month, you circulate with employees. Tell me some of the things that you need me to know. What are some of the problems? What are some of the challenges you see here? Carry on survey, they call it survey. How you see our business? You think we're growing or you think we are going down? Another one, you can have what they call town hall meeting. What is a town hall meeting? Call all the employees together in the auditorium of the company. And people here tell me, what's some of the problem? Why is it somebody here keep coming to work late? Why is it this happening? Why is it? You talk to me. Let's have some engagement. That's town hall meeting. That way, it's a strategy to carry on effective communication, because while you hear from employees, and they will also hear from you. Another one you can do is what they call open door policy. What is an open door policy? An open door policy is a situation where the manager does not have a lot of restriction for employees to come to him, to complain to him, or to tell him things, or to give him suggestions. Some managers, they're so high up there, before you reach to them, the special assistant will say the main meeting. From in the morning to the next morning, the main meeting. Or the man can see you, go talk to your sister and all of that. Now, that's not an open door policy. It's good to keep an open door system. Now, that's another technique on what we call the clear communication. 3 things to talk about on communication. One, you should use surveys where you can get questionnaire. Or 2, you can do town hall meeting. And 3, you can do what we call open door policy. Now, as we carry on this lecture, I expect you to be taking notes, because key questions will be coming from these discussions as we go along. The second strategy you can use when it comes to employee recognition is you can regularly acknowledge employee for the efforts that they have carried on. Make it your business that every month you recognize one employee, or you have an employee for the month, or any kind of encouragement to the employees. But you do that regularly. When you do that regularly, what happens? You will be able to get employee in a happy mood, to be feeling positive, and be able to work transparently. Mind you, the first thing we'll talk about the concepts on the positive work environment, how to maintain it, and now we look at the strategies. The strategies is what are some of those things you can do to actually implement a positive work environment. The first one we'll talk about is a transparent communication channel. The second one is there must always be employee recognition. And then thirdly, they say you have what they call work-life balance initiative. Work-life balance initiative. What do we mean by that? They say all work and no play make Jacks a dull ball. The work shouldn't be all stuck up and stiff up that all day work. When you see employee working, sometimes you tell them, man, you've been working hard for the last 2 weeks. Go home 2 o'clock today. That's what you call work balance life initiative. Or you could tell somebody, say, don't come to work from home. Just make sure you send me that report by 1 o'clock. And by 1, you expect to see the report on your email. If you don't see it on the email, that means the person was not working. But those are flexible arrangements you can have with employees to make them feel good. When you do that, employees will get to love the place where they work. You maintain a positive working environment. And the fourth strategy you can use is what we call diversity and inclusion. Diversity is a recognition of the fact that every employee is different from the other employee. And because each employee is different, they will behave differently. They will not work the same as the other employee. And not because somebody comes from West Point, or because they come from Broadville, or because they come from Concordia, or whatsoever the case may be, you tell them you can't be on this committee or you can't work, get this particular assignment. That's discrimination. There must be what they call inclusion. Everybody must be included. You have disabled people. Everybody must be included. And so once you are a manager that considers and respect the diversity of human beings, knowing that all of us are different. When your employees come to work, some of their behavior is different from the other one behavior, but because you know about this diversity, you know how to approach them, you know how to include them, you know how to accommodate them. Now, those are those are the summary of what it takes to maintain a conducive working or a positive work environment. Now, mind you, on an employee relationship, we said the first one is maintaining a positive work environment. The second one is conflict resolution strategies. We all know what conflict is. Okay, conflict is like a disagreement between two people or more people or so. All right, differences. Well, the question here is, why do conflict happen? There are several reasons. I see about 3 here. The first one is miscommunication. The second one is role ambiguity. And the third one is perceived unfairness. Now, let's look at it one by one. What is miscommunication? Miscommunication, sometimes you tell the person to do one thing, you tell them in a way that the information was not right, and the person goes and does something different. It can bring about some conflict because why your communication, that's the reason why they say you must always maintain clear communication. Okay, so you should, a miscommunication can lead to conflict. If somebody come and lie to you about something that never happened, or somebody lies on your name or so, it can bring about conflict, miscommunication. Another one is what they call role ambiguity. What role you playing in the company here? Are you janitor or you generator man? Tell all your real role, because someday we see you to janitor, we see you sweeping, then someday we see you to the generator. Role ambiguity, when there's no clarity of role, it can bring about conflict. If the person feel that they are generator man, but they love, anytime they come, they want sweep, and the janitor say, my man, the janitor hall, the way I swept it the last time, I left something in the corner here. Why you moving? Say, well, you're wasting time to come to work. And so I had to sweep, especially to work in the dirty environment. Now, your role is not clarified. If your role is clear, you will not have people overlapping. You will not have the secretary trying to do the manager work. You will not have the procurement man trying to do the accounting work. Everybody will be able to gather the role clear. And once there are overlaps of the role, trust me, it can bring about conflict. And then third one is what they call perceived unfairness. They call it perceived because what? It not show whether there was unfairness going on. You're a secretary in the human resource department, and as far as you're concerned, you think that the secretary in the finance department making more money than you. You think that's an unfair payment, but you have not seen the payroll. But maybe because of the way the guy in the finance department can dress, you believe that his salary is more than you. It can bring about conflict. That's what they call it, perceive. Perceive what you think in your mind is happening. The only way you know what is happening is if you analyze it, if you investigate it, and stuff like that. Now, there are several methods in which you can use to resolve a conflict. 3 in all. 1 is preventative, 2 is informal resolution, and 3 is formal procedures. 1 is preventative, to prevent. Why preventative? Firstly, you must have clear policies. What are clear policies? At your company, at your entity, you must have clear rules and regulations set down. Everybody must come to work 8 o'clock from Monday to Friday. Every Friday we will have fast and prayer. When you come to work, you must wear our uniform. On Thursday, you wear color clothes. Those are policies and things. When it's clear, then, hey, you prevent conflict, because nobody will come in uniform on Thursday when they know that the rules say or the policies say, you don't wear it on Thursday. Then there must also be manager training in what they call emotional intelligence. I remember talking about this in my last organizational behavior class. How managers are able to retain their emotional stability in dealing with people of diverse background. Many managers have temper, some of them are emotional, some don't know how to react to different situations, and because of that, it can bring about conflict. So if you have managers who are emotionally stable, and maybe they have went through some training for it, it can help them to prevent conflict, because when you see employee talking some way, you not talk the same way the employee talking. Rather, you talk in a way that it will calm the person down and all of that. Now, this is a recording, so the good thing about it is that anywhere you don't understand, you can just rewind it small and repeat it so they can understand. So the second method of conflict resolution is what they call the informal resolution. When something is not formal, it means it's not written down on paper. Okay, it's informal, and you have informal is where firstly maybe you have a one-on-one discussion with the person. If you hear that one secretary won't kick out something and dust, you call that person in your office, you have one-on-one talk. Now, what can I tell you? And we say we will increase your salary next month. Talk to your people, then let's relax more so that it can be all right. That's informal one-on-one discussion. Or maybe you can have some mediation by the HR. That's another informal approach. Why is mediation by the HR? If you have two persons in confusion or conflict, the HR can call them, sit them down, and talk to them and try to resolve it. Now, that's the informal. Then the other one is a formal approach. The formal one is the one where you're using what? Paper and pen. You can do grievance filing. Dear HR, on Sunday, on Friday when I came to work, I was leaving the office. As I was leaving the office, my colleague pushed a chair down, and I stomped on the chair, my phone fell down and the screen cracked. To repair the screen is $50. I told him he was responsible for it, and he said he can't pay the money, and we've been having issues. He said, matter of fact, I was supposed to hold my screen, and all. You write all of that down and file it into the HR, and then that kind of thing they can bring you in and carry on some investigation. That's a formal procedure. The second formal procedure is what they call disciplinary action protocols. What are disciplinary action protocols? Disciplinary action protocols has to do with, you got your handbook. Any employee damage a property in the handbook according to Article 2, you are required to pay 50% of the cost. Those are disciplinary action protocols. Any employee or employee called 14, you go home for 1 month suspension without pay or 50%. Those are action protocols. Why they call it protocol? Because they are all written down in document. And at the beginning of any employment, all employees usually are required to look at it, learn it, get familiar with it so that you don't violate any of those things. And so now, what some of the approaches, now the methods that we'll talk about for conflict resolution is preventive. You have informal resolution, you have the formal procedure. But what some of the key techniques that you can use? When you come to technique number 1, you say be an active listener. The person explaining the problem to you, you're busy on your phone, chatting, texting, and all of that. Say, but you hear me? Say, yeah, I hear you. Don't worry, I'm getting all. According to science, you're not getting all. You're getting some. And so the person feel that you don't value the complaint that they bring. Be an active listener. The second technique you can do is to show interest-based negotiation. What is interest-based negotiation? My man, the thing you just explained, it happened to me before. and know what you're going through. Identify with the person, and let's see if we can call the guy and talk to him so that we can resolve the issue here. Interest-based negotiation. Show interest in the concern of the employee. And then lastly, the last technique is to come up with some win-win problem solving. Win-win problem solving is where at the end of the problem, each person benefit in some way. Nobody win, nobody lost. Okay, but it's difficult to have win-win all the time, because sometimes in conflict, one person can actually be wrong and they can really wrong the next person. But as a trained HR manager, you should strive at all times to ensure that all conflict, once they are resolved, they are a win-win situation that every side will benefit some kind of way. All right. Now, so that's the first part on this chapter. Then the next one has to do with labor laws and regulation. Labor laws and regulation. Under labor law and regulation, the first one there has to do with employment contracts. The second one has to do with anti-discrimination laws. And the third one has to do with Occupational Safety and Health Act. Again, employment contracts, anti-discrimination laws, and Occupational Safety and Health Act. They call it OSHA. You can do some research and you get more information on it. But let's talk about it small. What are contracts? What is the purpose of contract? They say the purpose of contract, you can define expectation, you can protect both the employer and the employee, and you can clarify rights and obligations. What does that mean? In the contract, it will explain there what is expected of you as an employee. As an employee, we expect you to come to work from Monday to Friday, period. Every day when you come to work, we expect you to sign in. Every day when you leave, we expect you to sign in. That one of the things that the contract can do, again, explain what is expected from you as an employee. Then it can also protect both the employee and the employer, because they will have certain different things in there that say, in case this happens to the employee has a right to do this. In case this happens to the employer or the boss has the right to do this. So the contract, it encapsulates all of those things. That's why it's very important. You can clarify your rights and your obligation. Now, what are the key elements of a contract? What are some of the things you can basically really find in a contract? One, you can find job titles. Job title is, my position is executive secretary. That's a job title. You can also find duties. What are the duties? As executive secretary, all of these things I'm supposed to do. Then you can also find compensation and benefits in the contract. It will be written there that at the end of the month, you will be paid $20 every month. And you will also be entitled to 1 month annual vacation, etc., etc. Then in the contract, you will also have the termination clauses. What is termination? In case there's a reason for which a contract must end, it will be written there. The only way this contract can end is except this happening. Except the employee gave 1 month notice, or except there's a war, it will cancel. Except this, they call it termination clauses. What are the things that are supposed to happen before any contract can end for an employee? The other thing you can find in the contract is what they call confidentiality and non-compete agreements. Confidentiality. Things there in the contract are not things for the public sphere. All right. It's supposed to be within the contract. It remains there. The employee is supposed to see it. The employer is supposed to see it. The HR is supposed to see it, but it's confidential. The agreement there is highly confidential and not supposed to be exposed to the public. Now, they have 2 types of contract. One, they call it at-will contract, and the other one, they call it fixed-term contract. The fixed-term contract is a contract that has exact time. For example, the contract is going to run for 3 years, from January 2025 to December 2028. Period. That's a fixed contract. But the at-will contract is a contract where there's no fixed time to end it, but it's that anytime anybody wants to end the contract, they are free. They call it at will, ATWILL. You can research on that and see those are the 2 kinds of contract. But the best type of contract to do is the one that has fixed terms with written agreement and all of that in it. All right, that's contract. The next one is on labor laws and regulation. Is what they call anti-discrimination laws. Anti-discrimination laws. Certain laws that are developed that is against discrimination. Discrimination is what? Treating people differently based on their looks, their tribe, their sex, their gender, and all those kinds of things. Their level of physical abilities and stuff like that. Now, in America, they have a lot of anti-discrimination laws there, but in Liberia as well, we also have laws that covers all employees. We have something called the labor law. We have something called the civil service standing order. We have different laws, and even in different companies and things, you have the regulation and laws that has things to do with anti-discrimination. What it does is that it tells you that, hey, do not discriminate somebody because he comes from low-fat and the person is qualified, but because you don't like low-fat people, then you don't want to get in the position. You don't discriminate somebody because the person is crippled, but he can do the work. And you say, but the man crippled. That's discrimination. So there are laws that protect people against discrimination and all of that. That is what it had to do with anti-discrimination laws. And you need to do some research on it. You have the labor laws of Liberia. You have the civil service standing order of the Republic of Liberia. That's for the government. And then you also have different companies have their own little regulations. The labor laws is under the Ministry of Labor. It applies to all employees in the whole Republic of Liberia in the private sector. Then the civil service standing orders, ORDERS. That's the same law, but it's for only government employees and those in the public sector. Everybody that's working for government, anyway, you fall under that law. So the labor law, that those are working to places like B Mountain and the Golden Ferrolo, ArcelorMittal, and things, the restaurant, once you are not under government, the labor law apply to you. And there must be each clauses and phrases there about anti-discrimination. All right. Now, what are some of the responsibilities of the employee? That is the employer, the person who does the employment, or the manager, when it comes to anti-discrimination. One, there must be fair hiring practices. Don't say you're recruiting for secretary and you say only women should apply, or you say only men should apply. That is not fair hiring practices. It should be fairly distributed. Secondly, there must be inclusive work environment. Inclusive means, and we got yet to reach here in Liberia as a country. Inclusive means even the crippled man must be able to use the bathroom freely without struggling. The blind man must be able to move around without difficulties. The buildings must be built with ramps and different things to accommodate people who have different kinds of disability. That inclusive work environment. And then thirdly, there must employers must investigate complaints. If you hear some disabled person also complaining that, oh, I can't wear it all day, they say, my man, move your crippled self from here, man. And you investigate it, you don't take it lightly. If you don't investigate it, you say, oh, that joke. That's not joke. That anti-discrimination thing you have to be implementing. All right. So those are the responsibility of the employer. You must have fair hiring practices. You must have inclusive work environment. And thirdly, you must have investigation of complaints that will come about. Now, some mistakes that employees can make, the employers or the managers can make on these recruitment and things when it comes to discrimination. They say sometimes they can ask inappropriate questions during interview. Say, the way you're looking, so how you plan the step? Hey, that's not kind of question for interview. Just because you see the person blind, you get how you will tell and stuff like that. Failing to accommodate disability. Those are different mistakes that employer can make when it comes to these things. Now, I remember years ago when President Sally was president of Liberia, she passed a law in all government entities and said that each ministry must employ a disabled person. That time I was working with the government of Liberia, and I know two persons that were employed on that period because they were my friends. One was employed the way I was working. He was a guy in a wheelchair. Another one was employed at the Ministry of Transport. He's a blind guy. Now, up to present, those two guys are still employed. I don't know how it is in all the other ministries and agencies, but there was a law that I didn't push, that everybody must have a disabled person. That was a very inclusive and non-discriminatory approach, you see, and that was very good. Now, the next one has to do with what they call the occupational safety and health. What is occupational safety? It's ensuring that the workplace is a safe place and there will be good health standards. The workplace where you work is a safe place. The floor will not be too slippery. If you're wearing uniform or so, you must make sure that it's uniform that can combat some of the little problems that I think are on the ground or so, if it's a chemical factory, for example. So what are some of the duties of the employer under the Occupational Safety and Health Act? One, you must maintain a hazard-free workplace. What does it mean by hazard-free workplace? The place where you're working, it should be free of hazard, difficulties, things that can cause problems. You shouldn't have assets sitting down on top, some on a shelf, and people passing on it whole day. That's a hazard, because the day it mistakenly fall down, there will be some catastrophe. You can't do that. They say they must provide safety training and equipment. What is safety training and equipment? People should know that in case of fire, this is the place you should run. In case of fire, this is where you should take the fire extinguisher from, and this is how to use it. That's safety training. Okay, if the acid waste here, don't touch it. Let the rubber gloves remain on your hand if you're working in a factory. And there must be all of those necessary safety equipment to secure and safeguard employees. And then thirdly, you must report injuries and keep record. If ever there's an injury on the job, what happened? It must be recorded, and something should be done to prevent that kind of injury again from happening. If a fire burned somebody while the fire burned the person, it should be recorded that on June 4, 2022, John Brown got burned with fire on his foot. But it should be in the record. Even though it will be in the record, the next question now is, why was he burned? You will carry on an investigation so that the reason why he got burned, that reason will not exist anymore, but rather it will shift to, some preventive action will be taken to prevent it from happening. Anytime there's an airplane that crashed or had accident, when they do the investigation, when they find out what caused that plane to crash, they can include that one in the safety thing. If they found out that one tire had too much space between it, going forward, every plane, they make sure they close the space in the tire. They take corrective action. All right. So, now as an employee, what is your responsibility when it comes to the hazard? First thing, you must know about hazard. You must know some of the difficult, some of the dangerous things that are happening in your company. You must know certain things that if you touch it, it will jack you. They wire you exposed. You must know it. You must also call for inspection. Make sure that people can come and inspect, maybe from the government, to see whether the place is safe and conducive when it comes to health. And then they must be free from retaliation and complaints. That is to say, if a worker complains that the team matched my hand while I was working, the boss will not get fed with him and say, "Oh, so you're talking, eh? So you're talking?" And no, that is bad, because some bosses do it. Some bosses do it where they will look at it, and then they tell the worker, "You have no right talking." Now, I remember a few months ago, there was an oxygen factory somewhere in Ghana's-Way. I think they say it exists. They said there was an explosion. I don't know whether some of you remember it. The oxygen tank exploded and it killed somebody. It killed somebody. And why? Because they said there was not sufficient safety and hazard protection there. The government had to go there and start to put some things in place. Say, no, the player got to be this way, got to be this way, got to be this way, so that people don't get hurt. I remember many years ago, in Ghana's-Way, there's an area they call Battery Factory. Some of you know it. The reason they call that place Battery Factory is because they actually had a battery factory there where they were manufacturing car battery for different cars. I was working there and I was helping to make batteries. And in that company, we had to dress with overhaul, we had to dress with apron, we had to wear masks, we had to wear safety goggles, and every day after work, we had to drink milk. Those were different hazard and safety preventative mechanisms that were put in place to ensure that we didn't get sick or so. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the employee relation and labor law. We talk about employee relations, maintaining positive work environment. We'll also talk about labor law. Let me see what can take away from there. They say strong employee relations and compliance with the labor law can reduce turnover and increase productivity and protect the organization. Secondly, regular training, very clear policies, and open communication are very essential to the survivability of any organization. And thirdly, staying updated with the legal requirements is a continuous responsibility for all managers. Now, I'm going to give an assignment. This assignment, I'm not writing it. I will dictate it to you, and you will slowly write it down, and you will answer it. Listen to me. Here it goes. Each of you select an organization in Liberia. Period. Imagine a conflict at that organization. Period. Explain what that conflict was or what that conflict is at the organization. And also explain what caused the conflict to happen. Period. Now, as an HR manager, what will you do to resolve that conflict? What will you do to resolve that conflict? Guess what? If you use artificial intelligence, I will know. This assignment is due on Thursday evening, class time, on the platform. 7 p.m. or class time. Everybody, that's your work for the day. Come and post it on the platform. Sorry. Yeah. Thursday. So 7 p.m. Post it on the platform. This assignment is worth 25 points. So Thursday evening class time, you should put it on the platform. It's not secret. Everybody will see it. Everybody will see the company you're writing on. It must be a real Liberian company that will know of, and must see the approach. I know how your English looks. I know how artificial intelligence English looks. And if you go and try it, you're wasting your time. So look forward to hearing from you on Thursday, and that will be your class for Thursday. For today, watch this video and watch it again if there are some places where you didn't understand it clearly, and see how you can understand it better. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.